everyone. So I'm here with TC Robin. He is a writer, creator, has some a really cool and interesting book out, and so we're gonna chat a little bit about horror, about comics. So TC, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Other than the bad weather here, I'm
Yeah.
doing absolutely fine.
Well, I guess that's the because you said you're in Leeds, right?
Yes, Leeds
Yeah.
based currently,
And
yeah.
I guess that's kind of like the stereotype, right? Like the
Yes.
weather's always
Literally
bad.
one day, lovely summer weather, and then
Yeah.
hard cut the next day is just
Is it
pouring down with
is
rain.
that is that
So
really the truth? Like it's just the weather's like
just like that, it can flip on a
yeah.
switch. So the winter
Yeah.
blues are coming, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But it doesn't get how cold does it get for you?
It gets decently. The worst is like peak December when it's so cold and it's pouring down with rain. So
Oh,
my
okay.
face starts to
Yeah.
freeze, and you have to wear a hood over your face just to protect yourself.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. It's like I'm in New York, and winters are bad, but not as bad as they
Mm,
used to. You could definitely like I can see as in growing up, like the effects of like climate change even here,
yes,
where it's
yeah.
like we used to have a lot of snow. We'd have a couple blizzards
Hmm.
every year, and now it's like every couple years we get some snowfall. But like we'll go years where there's just like very minimal snowfall, and it's like
Ah,
it's in some ways it's nice,
yeah.
but it's also like I don't know what this is doing to the rest of the you know
I
rest of
would
the
give my
world.
soul to get some snow. Just
Oh, really? Okay.
anything, just to get some snow here.
Yeah, I hate it. I mean, it's like
Fair.
it's yeah, but I can see the appeal. Like if you're never there, it's like kind of like one of my favorite vacations that we've been on is going to Alaska, where it is bitter
Mm,
cold and freezing, but it's kind of cool and unique as a
yeah.
one time thing. But
Well,
like getting her, yeah.
all we get here is it will rain, and then one day you wake up and the floor is covered in ice. That's the
Oh,
closest we
that's
tend
the
to get.
worst.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
So
worst.
everywhere just becomes a death trap to try and get to.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful. I can't imagine like driving in that's got to be miserable. So I we with any creators that we interview, I'm always interested in how people get into it because there's just so many different stories. So
Mm.
the first question we always kind of ask any creator is for you to give us like kind of your origin story as a creator, and then if you didn't like start with comics, how that shifted and led you to writing comics.
Oh, absolutely. That's the key point is that I
Yeah.
never started off wanting to do comic books. That's
Yeah.
just where I ended up. And it all led back to like as a kid, I'm a part of the generation where it's like I grew up with YouTube. That's
Yeah.
how I learned about a lot of spaces and the outside world sort of thing a lot of the time. And it began with like YouTube channels who it's weird enough, they would make like props for like movies and stuff.
Mhm.
And then how I started writing was going, oh my God, I want to make this prop. It would be so
Oh,
cool. Let me
interesting.
write a story around that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
then I would write that. And then obviously, I remember at like age 10 writing my first movie script,
Mhm.
which was about like a Godzilla monster attacking because I wanted to make like a cityscape and like just smash it
Yeah.
to pieces. And then as I slowly got over the years, which I hate to say it, but I realized that making a movie is a little bit expensive and a little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
difficult to do for nobody.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I can turn it into a comic. I can draw. Drawings would have been one of my favorite things to do ever.
Mhm.
And then so it literally became me Googling how to make a comic, how to draw a comic. And then
Yeah.
eventually came across the comic like discussion YouTube channels like Comic Pop and Comic Story and those sort of people where they talk about comics. And then after a couple, like it went from me not really knowing much about comics, like I love superheroes, had
Yeah.
cut to a couple of months later when I've spent way too many hours on YouTube, to me loving comic books, starting to build my collection of comics and just becoming addicted to it to the point where now I can't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
great.
that's my story. And obviously, I've just recently graduated from a comic design course.
Mhm.
So now it's literally all my life has pivoted straight into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
now,
that's how
did
I
you?
started.
So you graduated? It was Leeds Art University, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, did you graduate in? Did you specifically study comic art?
Yes. So there
Oh,
was
wow,
the
interesting.
I never wanted to go to university ever. Anyone who
Yeah.
knows me during college, I was going, I'm done with education. I'm sick of it. I never
Yeah.
want to go again. Then one day I just so happened, around COVID time, happened to
Yeah.
Google art courses just to see what my options were. Then
Yeah.
found Leeds Art where they do a comic and concept art course.
Mhm.
And then immediately that thought I had in the back of my mind of I never want to do education again just disappeared immediately, and
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
applied
Yeah.
the same day. So
Yeah. Interesting. So now what did you learn from what did you learn from that? Let's say, okay, so you're, interested in comics, you're going through
mhm.
YouTube, you're learning a lot about the process. What did that course teach you about comics that maybe you didn't learn from, just researching things on YouTube, or maybe finding books or doing whatever online research?
What it taught me a lot, and it's like there was a lot of fundamentals learning, but a lot of it was just go and make this. You
Yeah.
have to go and make this now. And because I grew up with like this side of the more like Marvel and DC side of
Yeah.
publishing, I never really thought about the indie space at all.
Yeah.
But then some of my lecturers are indie comic book creators. Like
Yeah.
one of my lecturers who left recently, John Pearson, is currently making a book for Image and stuff.
Okay, great.
So it's like it almost taught me to look at it not just from this huge scape across the world, but what can I do in my small community? What one comic that I could make that I can then go to all the conventions around? Like, not just me shivering, like begging at Marvel's door, being like, I
Yeah.
swear I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, it taught me to lead myself and be
Yes.
my own person making comics. And it also
Yeah.
gave me the time to make it, where if I went into maybe a different course like illustration, I may have not been able to have like 3 full books out by now.
Yeah. No, that's great. So now a question: what's the indie scene like out there?
For specifically, and I'm so glad that it started in Leeds. Obviously, I'm not all over the country, and
Yeah.
where I'm from is Cardiff in Wales.
Yeah.
There is nothing there. There is one convention, but that convention's like you'll get like James Gunn's brother, and the artist
Yeah.
alley will be like this big compared to everything
Yeah.
else. But then Leeds has such this strong community of comic book creators. I don't know why or how, but it just so happens to be that a lot of creators are in this city.
Yeah.
There's loads of socials and clubs based around comic books, and then just around this area, like in York, they do a huge comic convention every year, which thankfully I'm going to this year.
Oh,
So
great. Yeah.
it's this sort of thing where over this course of the rest of the year, I hope to try and weasel my way into all of these groups. But it's the
Yeah.
sort of thing where it's like within just this city alone, there's a couple of like small celebrities where it's like every person who does comics knows a couple of people who are
Yeah.
like, that's where I want to be a couple of months from now, sort of thing.
Yeah. That's cool. So my on my main book, my writer kind of did the opposite of you, where I'm not great with UK geography, but I know
Yeah.
he moved from England to Wales. I
Oh,
believe,
okay.
if not Cardiff, I believe he did move from England to Wales. But so it's but yeah, I guess not as big of a scene out there probably for him
I
to
wouldn't say so, but I'm
yeah,
also I like I said, it's like I never really expanded into the
yeah,
indie scene until I came to
yeah,
Leeds. So it's like
yeah.
this is
So
what I'm used to now. But
yeah,
maybe if I ever do like go back to Cardiff for a bit,
yeah,
I may find like this underground dweller of just like comic book
yeah,
creators down there.
yeah. Now, have you tabled yet at any conventions?
I tabled at Thought Bubble. So Thought
Okay,
Bubble is the one in Harrogate or York that's nearby, and that's the big one. That's where
okay,
like you get like Chip Zdarsky and Tinian will come down,
mm,
and they'll be the big main sort of people.
yeah,
But there's a couple of like there's it's pretty much not. It's never the oh yeah here's John Cena or
yeah,
another celebrity.
yeah,
It's we're all artists. We're all in it together. Last
yeah,
year I did it for my university, like went through them because Leeds Arts comic course they
mm,
have a table each year, so I got
yeah,
to experience that, and then to the point where with my couple of books that I've printed now, I was able to go to them for this year and say, hey, I've got this product and I've teamed up with one
yeah,
of my friends who we worked on stuff together.
yeah,
So now we have a table in the future, but then for now, I'm like, okay, one comic table this year. By next year, it's 3.
yeah.
The year after that, it's 5. Like, that's
Yeah.
my plan.
Yeah, no, that's a great plan. I kind of have done a similar thing,
Hmm.
where it's like, yeah, I did one couple last year. I did actually kind of 3 this year. the plan is now to do more, but also get into like a bigger one. You know,
Of
we have
course,
an
yeah.
embarrassment of like riches here because I'm in New York. So like we have obviously like we have New York
Absolutely.
Comic Con, which is impossible to
Yes.
get into. So it's like I go
Hmm.
every year. But yeah, that's, you know, we get an insane amount of creators and, you know, all the different celebrities and stuff there. So definitely like an embarrassment there. But we have
Yeah.
tons of cons in our area, and then just
Hmm.
in the general, like within a 6 hour drive of here, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of the goal is like, all right, done Artist Alley a couple times at some of these decent ones. Now it's like getting into bigger ones. So I think that's a
Yeah.
great plan, because it's like, well, again, this next question is, when you did table, what did you learn? Like, what was maybe some things that you learned about tabling from that first experience that you didn't expect?
Well, the probably the biggest thing, I've worked in customer service for ages, so it's
Yeah.
like selling and dealing with money.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine with that. But for me, it might have been how many people were looking to meet other people like them.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I tabled for a couple of hours, and then I spent the rest of the time just wandering around trying to gain names and stuff.
Yeah.
But the amount of like people's hands I shook
Yeah.
just in a small like period of time was crazy, because everyone's thirsty for new creators, new voices, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to like realize I'm not just in it by myself. There's
Yeah.
dozens of other people, hundreds of other people.
Yeah,
So
there's a huge community, and everybody's
mm,
supportive too. So I think it's like, yeah, that's part of it, is like the networking and getting to meet people. And yeah,
yeah,
you're right. I think there's so many people when you're tabling that are just there to like network, and
yeah.
you know, if you take advantage of it, you can build some good connections.
Yeah, like that's my plan this year is like I will buy maybe two things max. I will spend the
Yeah,
rest of the time one handful of business cards and my comics
yeah,
just throwing them at
exactly.
people, and
Yeah,
the other hand best be shaking hands, otherwise I'm going
yeah.
home like depressed sort of thing.
Exactly. So now, did you no? So I just quick question that I asked.
Mhm.
Since you started with like the idea of creating props, do you still create props, or is it just like just the art for you at this point?
Okay, I'm so glad that you asked that, because no, I've never made
Okay.
a prop, but not. I'm starting my masters exactly 1 week today, so it's
Okay.
like pretty. It's going to be a fourth and fifth year of my
Yeah.
course, pretty much. So just giving me more excuses to make comics and say,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I'm doing education." Well, actually, I'm
Yeah.
just drawing all day. But not for my first project, but my second project. I was like, "Oh, I really want to make something like physically with my hands."
Yeah.
So what I decided it was it's going to be a puppet based horror story.
Okay.
So as a part of that, I don't even know if my course is going to let me, but
Yeah.
I'm going to beg them until I can.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm going to be making a series of puppets, which
Okay.
are going to be the killers of this story. So that's
Got
my
it.
first
Nice.
full forte into prop making,
Yeah.
which I
That's
then
great.
want to expand upon over the years.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, like, and it helps, also can help with the Kickstarter, helps giving, you know, having different
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
things to, you know, to give, you know, potentially give away. It gets expensive once you start making things like that.
Absolutely.
But it's cool. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. And
So,
it's like,
yeah,
oh, cheers. I want to make that comic. That is going to be the first comic that I want to submit to a publisher. I don't want
yeah,
to self-publish. I want to go to someone, make like industry contacts, and I want to have something someone else believes in, not just myself.
yeah,
And then, so that's what I want to do with that comic. But then I always thought about like, okay, every convention I do after, right where my table is, and there's a stack
yeah,
of those puppet horror comics. Sat
yeah.
right on top is that puppet just staring at people as they walk by.
Oh yeah.
And if that doesn't catch eyes, I don't know what
Yeah,
will.
it's huge. Like you know, that's a great idea. So part of my thing when it comes to tabling conventions is like, how do you stand out? Because
Hmm.
I'm not the most outgoing person in the world. Like, I'm very good one
Yeah.
on one, right? If somebody starts talking to me, I can keep going. I can, you know, I'm fine in that setting. But for me, I'm not the type to walk up to people. So having things that are eye catching at your table
Hmm.
help. And like, my hobby's 3D printing, and so one thing that helped, like when I've tabled the last couple times, is like I will make things specifically relating to my comics that will draw the eye or get attention. And that helps, because, you know, so anything that will get people looking and think, oh, that's interesting, what's that,
Yeah.
and gravitate to you is huge. Like, it helps a lot with your like with getting, you know, with getting that engagement. And once you get them
But
in, you know, like a quick aside, I made a little pitch box, which was like a little thing where I had 4 different tags of just like a line about a comic, and then people
mhm.
could choose which one they wanted to pitch. They push a button, the light pops up or lights up. And it was amazing because I would get people to ask. Basically, it was like they were playing a game of which pitch I was going to give them, and I didn't have to do any work. So they just go up to the table,
They
say,
just
"Ooh,
got to
interesting.
choose.
Huh, which one do I want?" And then they just press the one, and that was great. So it's like, yeah, that's a
That's
great
dope,
way of,
yeah.
it's like having something that gets people to drawn in is awesome, because then
Mm.
it cuts it eliminates that need to like talk to try to pull everyone in.
Yeah, instead of just like screaming "buy my
Yeah,
book,"
yeah,
people
exactly.
come to you instead for once.
Yeah. One of the best. I tell a story. There was a guy at one convention that was sitting next to me. He was amazing because what he did, I was so impressed. Is he would basically look at everybody that walked by and immediately identify something about them. And I'm sure this is just a common sales tactic, but it was like
Yeah.
he'd see them, he'd identify something about them, and call it out immediately, to them, and that would engage them. It was like, nice
Of
shirt. I
course, yeah.
like that character because of X, Y, and Z, and he had it, and then he'd have him in, and it was like amazing watching him just do that to everybody. Unfortunately, I had to hear the same pitch a
Of
thousand
course,
times throughout the
yeah.
day, but it was
Over
like
and
I
over
wish
and
I
over
had that
again.
ability, but unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I would struggle so much with that because my brain, I know, I would see someone walking and then I'd be like, oh, I'm going to compliment them.
Yeah.
And then my brain would just draw a blank immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they've gone.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit about your and we'll definitely going to get into your work, into your books too, because I want to hear, I've read one, and just talk a little bit about your stuff. But tell me about your own like creative process. Like, do you what kind of inspires you? What motivates you to write? How do you go about it? Do you have a structure? Do you not? But a little about your own process creatively.
Okay, well, to begin with, like my inspirations, for me, I don't know, my parents are two very different people with
Mhm.
completely different inspirations. My father loves like Jackie Chan action movies, while my mother loves like B movie horror. So
Okay.
a lot of my inspiration comes from like those two things that
Yeah.
then come together. And so I try and like include like compositions and like just cool set pieces from some movies and then just cheesy horror from the other
Yeah.
movies. So those are my biggest inspirations, as well as like this sort of like new era of horror movies that are coming out, which I just adore.
Yeah.
But then I've always been, I would say, quite a creative person, to the point where now it's like I have a document that is like 60 pages long that just has like bullet point ideas of
Yeah.
everything that I want to do. So
Yeah.
it's like nowadays my process is, let's use like that puppet story for an
Yeah.
example. I was like, oh my god, I'd love to make a comic about a killer puppet. I have
Yeah.
that concept in my brain, and then I go
Yeah.
to that huge list of ideas, and I go, what else would work with that? And
Yeah.
I had one note where it was like a horrifying version of Red Riding Hood, and I was
Hmm.
like, if I replace Red the Wolf with a killer puppet, what does the story become then?
Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And then I'm always the sort of person where it's like, I'll write down an idea, and all I want to put is one sentence: kill a puppet. I'll write that, and then as I'm writing that down, I think of a new idea, and then I'm like, oh, and in this scene, this could happen. Oh,
Yeah.
and in this scene, and then and then by the time that I'm done, it's 2 hours later, and I've got an outline for a comic.
Got it. Yeah.
When like I was only meant to write down 3 words.
Nice. That's great.
So that's sort of my process.
And then do you find like, is there a moment where you're like, all right, I'm ready to actually write the thing? Or do you find it just comes, naturally to you? Like, how do you get to that point of like, all right, I've got the ideas, but
Hmm.
when are you ready to start writing?
For me, recently, I've been writing so much over the past couple of months since I've been on like my summer break that I've written like 5 or 6 comics. And on each one of them, specifically that puppet one, I remember looking at it like this huge outline and going, something's missing. There's something that's not clicking in my mind. And then pretty much what I then have to do is write a separate list of like
Mhm.
crazy ideas that I could include. And for me, it's trying to find that like that one spark of this is it. This is, even if I've got an outline which could make a decent story, there always needs to be something else added on top, I feel like. But sometimes I have caught myself in that situation where I write a full comic and then I go, it's missing something. And then like a month later, I've never made the comic because it's always been missing something. But I think that comes from like me improving and being able to like
Yeah.
re-examine my old work.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think, everybody has that kind of what works as far as getting,
Exactly, yeah.
getting into that. So now as somebody who is an artist and a writer,
Mm-hmm.
where what do you consider yourself first? Like, do you or maybe not even what do you consider your first, right? Because you think you're both on some level. But like, do you do you think about your stories like for me, right? Like I'm a writer,
Mm.
I can color, but I'm not like an artist or, I
Yeah.
don't draw, right? So when I'm thinking, I'm more thinking about the dialogue and about themes and about story and how it
Hmm.
moves. And then I start thinking visually about, oh, this will look cool or that'll look cool. But the visual in my head always comes later. Then even though it's a comic, right? The visual is coming after
Yeah.
I'm thinking about what the story beats are going to be and what the dialogue is going to be and themes that we're working with. But how does that work for you? Are you thinking visually more when you're writing things down, or is it the same thing? Are you thinking more like a writer and about the story beats, when you're creating a script?
Yeah, for me, I feel like I have an interesting way of doing it where it's like my outline for a comic, obviously, it's incredibly visual. Because I think the way my brain works is I create like images and that's how it works. I in my outlines there's almost never dialogue.
Mhm.
Dialogue is something that I always come to afterwards, especially with the books that I write and draw. What I end up doing is writing an outline, writing a script that has no dialogue in it whatsoever. I just know the basic beats of every single scene. I then thumbnail and lay out the comic and draw speech bubbles. And then
Mhm.
after the fact, I add speech on top of that. So it's this interesting thing where it's like, I, I think visually, then write it down, then draw it artistically, then come back and add the dialogue, and then go to the ad. So it's this like step by step process that I've had in my mind for ages.
I mean, interesting. So I'm gonna get ahead of myself because I want to talk a little bit
Mm.
about your comic, because there was one scene that I love. Well, one scene in particular that really stood out to me. I should say that I
Hmm.
loved. I love the scene, and in talking to you about your process, I'm wondering the scene where the grandma puts on her like uniform.
Yeah.
Uh, was that one of those like things that like you thought like like I want to put that kind of like montage or that scene together because that's straight out of like an '80s movie. Um,
Absolutely,
okay,
absolutely. It's like
yeah,
I co-wrote it with my friend Lily, so we were literally I came to her with this idea.
yeah,
I was like, I have a concept. Here you go. And then we sat down and were just writing bullet points. And then as
yeah,
soon as this idea of the grandmother being a dog handler in her
yeah,
past life, I was like, well, we have to have a montage scene.
yeah,
We just have to, like,
yeah,
because of the sort of vibe that we wanted to go to, which is
yeah,
horror, but it's this quirky. You're meant to have fun
yeah,
with it, like it's
yeah,
light-hearted as much as it can be. And I was like, this grandma has to have a montage scene because in my
yeah,
head that's a funny visual
yeah,
of a grandma putting on her boots, going out to get revenge. Like, so it came to me almost immediately. And then even when we were going through edits of the story, I was like, I know what's staying, and it's
yeah.
that scene that
No,
is
that's great.
staying the
Yeah,
most.
yeah. And so in talking to you, I was wondering if that was a moment of like like that light bulb moment of
Yeah.
that's the thing or that's the scene, and no,
Hmm.
it works great. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about furry phobia. Where'd the idea come from? And why the decision to, let's say, go with one shot?
Okay. Well, I recently made, not to plug myself, obviously, but I recently made a YouTube video as well, which talks about like, could furries be a slasher icon in themselves? Because,
Yeah,
but the way it started was I went to Leeds Arts University. It's a huge indie scene, like everyone's alternative, very accepting, and I love that for the uni. And but the one day that terrified me was when it was Halloween and someone walked in with a fursuit, and people can wear whatever they want, and I respect it for them. But seeing just a visual of walking into a dining like area and just seeing a furry stood in the middle of it sent like a shiver down my spine
yeah,
immediately. But then I didn't come up with the idea until I don't know, just one day something clicked in my mind. Like I was like, oh, I want to write just like a quick little story, and I just got that visual in my head, and I
yeah,
was like, it's on like the third page or second
yeah,
page. Just a furry stood outside your window staring back at you.
yeah,
So that's where the idea came from. And then the reason why it's a one shot is mostly because it was meant to begin as a 24-hour comic.
yeah,
The idea was is that me and Lily were going to get together and within 24 hours make a really like just tattered comic within 24 hours just to say that we could do it.
yeah,
And then we spent 24 hours writing the thing, let alone drawing it as well.
yeah,
And then we ended up having so much fun with the idea that it's like, okay, we can take a couple of months to do this and enjoy ourselves. But the
Yeah.
reason why it's a one shot is because, I don't know, just because I didn't want to become too bloated. I just had this idea of like bare minimal dialogue, just only visual speaking for itself sort of thing. But
Yeah.
then it's interesting that you say that, because over the past couple of days making that video, I thought, and researching the topic of furries in the community, I thought of like more scenes that I could have added if it was bigger.
Yeah.
So one of my idea lists is maybe not to expand issue one, but to make a sequel to it later on or something
Yeah.
like that, depending on if people like the book or not. Because
Yeah.
I'm the sort of person where if I have one idea, I can't just think about the one idea. I now have like 7 sequels going on
Yeah.
afterwards. But
Yeah.
so that's the reason why it's a one shot for now, at least.
You know, I'm curious. Have you talked to or interacted with anyone like in the furry community, or has anybody seen the book and any feedback you've gotten?
Absolutely. It's like
Yeah.
I know furries from my course, and they're all very lovely people. And it's like I put in a couple of our group chats, and they all seem
Yeah.
to appreciate it. But then I went on YouTube at one point and was like, let me email some furry creators and see what their opinion is, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I've never felt my heart sink so much was when I sent it. I sent the just like the pitch to someone
Yeah.
who was a part of the furry community, and they went, "This is harmful. This is destructive. Can't believe you're doing this." And then I was like, "Okay, I'm willing to learn. Here's the comic. Let me know. Let me know what you think about it." And their only reply was, "Not harmful at all. Quite fun.
Okay.
Good luck." That's
Yeah.
what the email was back, and I was like,
Yeah.
wiping the sweat off my brow, being like,
Yeah.
because obviously I don't want to offend anyone, and that's why
Yeah.
specifically in the comic, spoilers alert, I guess, but the suits are hollow,
Yeah.
so there's no people inside of it. It's
Yeah.
just this idea of it's almost like if a knight. Like a medieval knight suit came to life and started attacking
Yeah.
people. I'm not trying to offend medieval knights.
Yeah.
I'm just exploring that as a concept, pretty much.
Yeah. And it comes across like I think that there definitely is a world where you could use that to poke fun of people. So one of
Absolutely,
the interesting
yeah.
things when I saw the title and looked at it initially was like, oh, I wonder if this is kind of a satire meant aimed at furries,
Mhm.
and because you do get a lot of that just in general, and whenever you do hear about furries in pop culture, it's generally
Yeah.
not in a positive light. But yeah, but definitely in reading the book, like it never feels like that to me. So I think you do
And
a good
it's
job
like,
of balancing it.
with me coming up with like sequel ideas, it's not just like, let's follow this grandma. It's like, what if I had a furry go up against these killer furries,
Yeah.
like evolving
Yeah.
it like that? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not out to harm anyone. I just had this image in my brain of like, and I had to execute it pretty much.
Yeah. So, and you do a really good job. One of the things you do, and I think it's interesting, you mentioned not like that you put the dialogue last, and that's probably an issue a lot of writers have, is I do think you do a really good job of like, the action's great, and of minimizing the dialogue so you really can see, it looks good. And so to allow the visuals to speak, for themselves, so to speak. That works great in the story where it's like you're letting
Thank you.
letting us sit in the visuals rather than trying to tell us, which I think is an issue again that a lot of
It's so
writers have.
interesting. Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, because I believe you've read currently a previous edit of Furry Phobia.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Where I have now added a couple of pieces of dialogue.
Okay,
Because
interesting,
I did give it to a couple of people, and not that they were confused, but it was a sort of thing where it's like, something's missing. So there's like, during that scene where she gets ready, right before that, we hear the TV announcer talking about what even is a furry.
Yeah.
And like, so people can be let in on what the idea is. And then pretty much how the montage begins is the newscaster being like, oh, and I think the only way that we can survive this like crazy killer furry slaughter is if we need you turn the page, and as she's getting a montage, it says we need a hero. So I've gone into that quirky sense, but it's like, if you've read some of my other stuff, or if anyone has, like Deadman's Heartbeat, which is a dystopian comic I did, I don't know how much dialogue I crammed onto every single page.
Yeah.
So, and that was a 20-page comic that I just needed to tell this story. But I'm definitely learning to let the visual speak for itself a lot. And Furry Phobia is one of my steps into just lending itself to visuals.
Yeah. So tell me about the Kickstarter campaign. Like, what's
Mhm.
I guess it'll be a kind of multi-part. Is give me some, tell us about this specific campaign. What are some of the
Yeah,
rewards? And then just as this is your first Kickstarter campaign that you've released, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Yes,
what
my
have you,
first
and
one.
maybe if you could tell me like what you've learned so far with this campaign? Any things that you
Absolutely.
might do different, or things that you did that you were like right on, I got this. Yeah, if you can give me some feedback on that.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's like the Kickstarter is looking for X amount of money. If you go to the Kickstarter website, you'll be able to see how much it is. But the main rewards for us was we did a couple of covers because it's me and Lily working together side by side. For the covers we did, you take one cover, I take one cover because we have very different styles. So it was interesting to see the characters in both of our different styles. So that's one of the rewards. We had a bunch of stretch goals to add pages and stuff. We may not reach that at all. And then some of the other rewards were like big bundles, and we love making stickers. One of the things that we did for Thought Bubble and this upcoming Thought Bubble was a bunch of stickers. So then we spent a while like coming up with like chibi designs and stuff like that. So those are some of the rewards.
Nice.
And then
And
if I were,
yeah,
I was just going to say the main thing that I probably have learned from this Kickstarter is, for one, how to make a Kickstarter, because I was dreading that just from the
yeah,
beginning. How
yeah,
important marketing is and the work before that, as
yeah,
well as to not set your. I came into this Kickstarter project with like, oh, this is a guarantee,
yeah.
of course, just because I've got the luck of the Welsh on my side, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I very quickly realized, oh, this takes work, this takes time, it takes community, not just praying every night that it appears all of a sudden.
Mm. Yeah, it's tough. It's like it's definitely a different animal. Like I think it's like anything. It's like this whole discoverability thing is a challenge. So it's like
Mm,
there's so much work on the front end to get like that was the big learning for me was just like how much work you need to like put in
yeah,
early on, before months before it starts to like for the campaign, and it becomes like a second job. I think it's a big
absolutely,
challenge, man.
yeah.
Yep.
Whereas, like, I've spent loads of hours like contacting people, like asking people for interviews
Yeah.
and finding websites where it can be promoted, contacting people who may like it. But it's like the day we finished the comic was the day the Kickstarter went live.
Yeah. Okay.
So it
Yeah.
was literally like that thin of a timeline where I should have finished comic and then spent a couple of months just so people know, oh yeah, he's making a comic called Furry Phobia,
Yeah.
right? That's going to come out eventually. Instead of just one day just dropping a link for people to go
Yeah.
to and fund.
Yeah, but it's fun. But the good thing with it is like you just you can kind of keep rolling forward with it. But
Exactly
so
that,
you've
yeah.
got 2 days to go. So this is Monday,
Yes.
September 8th. So anyone who's listening, the campaign runs through Wednesday, and we'll have a link to everything. And that's
Perfect.
always
Thank you.
the good thing about Kickstarter is you do get that nice rush at the end. So it's always like
Yes.
that's always a challenge. It's like it's the first couple days are good, then it's just dead. And I heard that and I did
Oh,
not believe it until it
yeah.
actually happened, which is it dies for like the 3 weeks in between.
Yeah.
And then you
And
get
the
that little rush at the end.
and at the time that it was dead, I've never felt more dread in my
Yeah.
entire life of just every day getting the same email from
Yeah.
Kickstarter being like, it's 30% funded,
Yeah.
30% funded. I'm like, 31%, like I would
Give me
appreciate that
something.
much
Yeah.
of an increase. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you'd get one, like you get one new backer and then lose a backer. It's just like, it could
Oh
be,
God, yeah.
yeah, definitely like Kickstarter can be a little bit,
Mhm.
it's like a tumultuous month of dealing with that, dealing with the campaign. So now tell me about what other work have you? So you said you have other books out. So tell me about the other books that you have out or that you've written at this
Yes.
point.
Okay, um, so if you go to my website, tcrobin.com, which is like where I've just put every work that I've made for free so far, because it's like
Yeah,
I'll sell at conventions, but if anyone wants to read it, I'm not going to
yeah,
like gatekeep my
yeah,
own book from people. I've got a couple of stuff on there. I've got from when I was like 14 years old. I've put together all the books that I made around that age to just show this was me learning how to do comic panels.
yeah,
This was me learning how to draw like a speech bubble. And oh my
yeah,
God, I get it wrong at some points. But then I then did a web comic during COVID, which then just fizzled out. But the
yeah,
most important thing that I've put out is an issue called Infernum. So Infernum meaning hell in Latin. and it's a small little anthology. All of the stories written by me, but by the time the end of the year, it's actually going to get an update. So there's going to be collaborative projects in it as well. So the idea was that over the next couple of years, I just keep making these Infernum issues to both keep myself inspired by tapping into the other genres and also like working with people. Because obviously, you will probably understand that sometimes writing in your room alone has just this daunting experience where it's like just being by yourself for that many hours, but then contacting other people and being like, hey, do you want to draw like just a small panel or do you want to color this? And it's like everyone's looking for something to work on, especially because all my friends are graduates as well. So it's like people are just jumping at the opportunity. So it's like Infernum 1 is out and available on the website. Infernum 2, I finished it today. Right before we got on this call, I finished the last bit of
nice.
dialogue. So now, by the end of the year, Infernum 2 is coming out, and then one of the biggest projects that I'll probably do this year, just in general, was it's called Callisto City: Dead Man's Heartbeat, and it's just this 20-page little story. If I can pitch it for a second, if that's all right,
absolutely.
It's set in my original world of Callisto City, which is about it's a Welsh dystopia, but how to describe it perfectly. I've written down this pitch so many times and I forget it every single time I have to describe it to someone. It is, what if the remnants of humanity lived in 5 buildings? That, as the ocean rised due to X, Y, and Z that you may or may not find out if you read the book, all that's left is 5 buildings. And it doesn't help that the entire ocean is infected with a virus that if it gets you, you're turned like that.
Yeah.
So it's dealing with this Welsh dystopia where the world is so much into ruins that there's only a few hundred people left. And this is my sort of thing where, as a Welshman, I have my own political views sort of thing. So it's like all the Welsh people live in this city and all the English people live above it in a golden halo that sits up,
of course,
sits on top. Because, you know, I'm not subtle with my work whatsoever. But this is a world that I want to write loads of stories in and eventually do an ongoing series if I could. But as my first like step into it, I was like, what if I just choose one character and just show 10 minutes of their life? So in the book, you follow a grieving father try and protect his child, which is a cliched sort of trope. But I did it so that he's trying to get from point A to point B. So you get to experience little handfuls of the world as it goes along.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that during it, this golden halo that sits upon them has realized, oh, all these people below us starving? Yeah, that's not good for business. So let's wipe out a couple of them. And then the main antagonist for it is that he's being chased by his undead wives the entire time. So seconds before the story, his 2 wives took a dunk into the ocean and now he's being chased. So that's the work that I've done so far. Couple of anthologies and then that big book, which is like every couple of years I want to go back to Callisto City and build upon this world until I can one day make an ongoing or a graphic novel based in it.
So you have a strong sense of horror, but also incorporating kind of quirky, sensibilities into it. So I'm always interested in horror. I love horror as a genre. And what are your keys to like writing good horror?
That's a good question because I think you'd have to ask someone else who's read my work because I feel like I'm so in it that I couldn't express that. For me, I think a lot of horror comes from a killer concept. Whether, of course, you can elaborate on suspense and make it incredibly thematic, but it's like one good concept can make or break a story, I feel like. And it's like with that puppet story or with furry phobia, it's like you're being chased through the woods by a furry that is going to eat you. That is just a image that sits in someone's mind. And I think it's those visual images and concepts that stick with people the most.
Yeah, and I would agree with horror. I think it's all in the mind, and so I think the concept goes a long way towards investing you in the world. So I think, I definitely can see, how that, how that works a lot. Now speaking of horror, like what's your favorite horror property? It could be anything, comics, it could be movies, TV, anything,
Oh,
any couple things that stand out to you.
okay. Which probably when I describe this, you'll see why a lot of my horror has like this quirky vibe to it all,
Yeah.
because I love the genres the movies that won't die, that have
Yeah.
like 14 movies for no reason whatsoever. So
Yeah.
it's like the Hellraiser franchise is
Yeah.
something that I love, where it's like the first two movies were meant to be Hellraiser films, and then the rest of them are just scripts that they've
Yeah.
slapped the label onto.
Yeah.
Then there's Final Destination, which I
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever seen those
I
films,
saw
but
I saw the very first one, and have not seen any since.
that's absolutely fine, because as the franchise goes on, it
Yeah.
gets more stupid as time
Yeah. Oh
goes on,
yeah.
which I absolutely love, because it's like, I was talking to someone recently, and it's like, I go to horror to be scared, but I
Yeah.
want to enjoy myself at the same time.
Yeah.
Like recently, that speaking of, there was a new Final Destination movie that came
Yeah.
out this year. I watched it, had great suspense, but
Yeah.
then I was laughing and enjoying myself. It was like, that's how I get attached to stuff, is by,
Yeah.
I have such a critical mind where, I don't know if you're like this, but while I'm watching a film, I'm going, oh, but why did they do
Yeah.
that? Oh, but what's the character's motive? It's
Yeah.
those films where my brain turns off,
Yeah.
where I go, okay, this is fun. This
Yeah.
is what I enjoy the most.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Um.
that's my vision of horror. Fun
Yeah.
horror is what I want to see.
Yeah. I saw a good one yesterday. I saw Weapons, which has been getting a lot of press recently. Have you seen that yet?
I am watching it tonight.
Ooh,
As the
okay.
day that we record it,
Okay.
me and my partner are going to go watch Weapons. So
Okay.
that's
When
been
you,
on my list.
when you see it, shoot me a message. Let me know if thumbs up or thumbs down. I liked it.
Yes.
It's really good. So yeah, won't give anything away, but definitely they do a
Okay,
really good job
perfect.
with it. And I saw in front of it, there's another one that I have to go see, which it's called Good Boy, which is like a horror movie from the perspective of a dog, which looks
Yes.
it looks great. So I can't wait.
All I've seen is that poster, which I'm sure everyone knows, where it's just the dog and the shadows reaching for
Yeah.
it. And I was like, this is what I mean by a really
Yeah.
good concept can sell
Yeah.
me. I just saw that image and went, you've got my ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like my wife told me about it before so I didn't see the preview, and she just said, "Oh, there's a horror movie about a dog, or like a horror movie from the perspective of a dog called Good Boy." Just that alone, it's like I'm sold. Like,
you've won me over.
yeah. Like I saw, then we saw the trailer ahead of Weapons. I was like, I'm still sold, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm a dog lover. I've had plenty. I've had 3 dogs. I have 2 currently. It's like, yeah, it's like they're, I'm sold. I'm just terrified of like that will make me feel something if certain things happen in that movie. So that's the only concern.
If I don't walk out of that movie wanting another dog, and that I haven't cried, that movie hasn't done itself justice.
Exactly. Like that's my only fear is I'm gonna because also like what I was thinking is you have 2 perspectives, because you could harm the dog, which we'll all be upset with.
Absolutely,
but dogs are so loyal that if you do something to the owner, I'm still going to be upset, because I can imagine my dogs seeing me in art. So it's just like, yeah, it's going to kill me.
My lips going to start quivering at that. Just the idea of just okay, that's a whole different other like discussion we can have. Just talking about Good Boy and what's going to happen.
Seriously.
To go back to that idea of like a good concept.
Yeah.
A good concept, you should hear it and then go, oh my God, this is going to happen. And this is going to happen. And it makes itself in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always what a good concept will do. All right. So before we leave, I always try to have one kind of weird out the box question about your work.
Okay.
So, if Furry Phobia was adapted into a B movie, who would you cast as the grandma?
Oh, this is so funny that you say that again, because it's like I literally, in my list of movie spec scripts that I would want to write, it just bold letters, Furry Phobia. I've written nothing on it, but that as a feature would be hilarious. Oh, I'd have to look into it a bunch, but obviously you can name like some of the big ones. Is it grab Meryl Streep? I don't know, like I wouldn't want like a no name. You have to grab the most famous old woman ever. Yeah. Put her in a dog handler outfit, and then don't allow her to say a single piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
Just
That would
the
be
entire
amazing.
time,
Yeah.
Just face act and punch
Yeah.
furries. That's this job description here.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Okay, good. I could go for that. I could definitely go for Meryl Streep as a grandma. Well, TC, it's been awesome. And yeah, so like, I again love the book. It's great. Really do a good job with like the visuals and with the story, with the concept, and making it a one shot that works.
Mhm.
Where can people find you? And then where can people find the Kickstarter? And again, obviously, I'll post a link and everything in wherever this is posted. We'll have links to your work as well.
Yeah, perfect. So it's like for furry phobia, because of the title, you can just go on Kickstarter, type in furry phobia, it comes up like that.
Yeah.
But then to find my work, like I said, tcrobin.com is where all of my work, you can read all of it for free currently. The only thing you can't read for free is a link that takes you to the Kickstarter. So if you want another book, then there's tcrobin_comics. That is my Instagram handle. I absolutely hate social media.
Mhm.
So you may get a post every like 3 months, and that's where you're getting. But I'm constantly on there, like on posting stories. And then I recently did a YouTube channel because I'm more into that space, as we've discussed. So it's like, instead of making Instagram posts, I want to just vlog every couple of weeks to be like, this is what I'm working on. But unfortunately, if you type in TC Robinson, it doesn't come up. You literally have to type in TC Robinson furry phobia, and then it comes up. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about my process, I'll be making videos on that soon.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm the same way with social media. It's like not good at that, but I found like this works. The interviews. This is what really works for me and what I enjoy doing, and what has gotten some attention. So that's always good. But yeah, like do what works, do what you love. But it's marketing is annoying.
Exactly, and it's like I love to ramble. As you could probably tell from this video, I love to ramble, and it's like I can't put that all in one caption of an Instagram video. I need like a 20-minute discuss. I used to run. This was when everyone had a podcast. I started one with my best friend just so the discussions we had about movies had a place to go. And it's like, I would never want anyone to watch them now, but it's like when I came out of The Batman with Robert Pattinson, making a 3-hour video talking about that can't just be like a tweet or something. Like, I can't process all that.
Seriously. Yeah, and I could talk for hours about that. Well, I hope I loved it. I hope you did too.
Well, the thumbnail of the YouTube video has a poop emoji in it, so you can assume my views from there. I tore it apart.
Next conversation we can talk about that.
Yes, I was probably such a whiny little baby about that film, but that's
my only issue was the third act. I think the third act not ruined it, but took it down a lot. But I think I loved it up until that point. But I think it ran away a little bit with that. But it's
the moment it lost me was when Robert Pattinson Batman flew using a squirrel flight suit and then smacked himself into a bridge. I went, what are we doing? Why am I here right now looking at this? That
was kind of ridiculous. I can see that.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll keep that for next time we talk. We're gonna dedicate a section to the Batman.
Yes, a 3-hour video.
Yeah. Did you like the Penguin at least?
Oh, I've only watched clips. Do you mean the show?
Yeah.
I have watched clips of it because I can't get it anywhere here in Britain.
Oh,
Physically don't know where to find it. But every clip I've seen, I'm like, this. Hearing that they're doing a Penguin show, it's like, what would that even be?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, it's this. You did it perfectly.
It is great. Like whether like the Batman or not, like the Penguin is an amazing show.
Yes, yeah. But instead of Robert Pattinson's Batman being in the background, I want like Kevin Conroy's Batman to smash through the window wearing like bright blue. Like I don't want grey all the time. But that's just me. That's just me.
No, I agree. One thing, the one thing I liked about the Flash movie was that they for a moment we had some lighter. Like my favorite part was like the scene in Michael Keaton's in that Batman's Batcave where there was a blue and gray suit. That was amazing. So hopefully James Gunn gives us that.
I was literally about to say if I don't see 10 Robins and a big yellow symbol on his chest, I'm not getting a ticket. I'll go watch Good Boy for a second time.
I think we're gonna get that. I think James Gunn.
Fingers crossed.
Are you able to watch Peacemaker, or is that also something you can't get?
Peacemaker, can't watch it whatsoever. The only parts I've seen is through like Instagram Reels. Every day I'm catching up.
It's so good. We got through episode 3. Did you see You saw season 1 then, right? Of it?
Yes, I've seen most of season 1, but then season 2 has escaped my grasp.
Yeah, well, when you get a chance, or like it
Okay.
is a fantastic show. It's like they do such a good. Like so I read somewhere on Reddit it was like this is James Gunn's like magnum opus. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. It's that good, but
But I feel like every time he makes something new, someone always
yeah,
says this is his magnum
yeah,
opus.
no,
So
but
clearly he's just like improving and
yeah,
peaking every other
exactly.
week.
Yeah, seriously. All right, well, TC, this is awesome conversation. I could definitely chat a lot. Hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully we'll have some more to talk about next time.
absolutely.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been